You're listening to Common Sense and Beer, where we tackle the hard-hitting topics, sometimes with a guest in the chair, but mostly with our producer, Joey, and our co-host,
Zach.
Normally, we're going to just talk about, current events, maybe a solo topic in itself, but today we're going to kind of tackle a multi-pronged issue, dealing with I like to call them the critical racists, the critical race theorists, however you'd like to refer to them as, but the ones that are instilling, I think, racism in America to this day, through their deity, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, main force for them to kind of, just shoot their tendrils into everything. But it's a kind of a mixture, I feel like, of black supremacists and communists and gay white allies, kind of.
I don't know
this whole spiel.
Yeah, I don't know. Black supremacists. I don't know. That might seem kind of like a buzzword to me, but at the same time, it's kind of the same idea. But behind white supremacy is, for whatever reason, you should treat someone differently, or like they owe you something, or they are lesser than somebody because of the color of their skin. So
they definitely believe that. I mean, their whole spiel is to. In order to be actively anti-racist, you have to be proactively, racist.
That's one thing that, and that's probably going to be my main thought on this, which is it's just strengthening the racial divide in this country. That's all it's doing. This critical race theory and stuff like that. We talked to Colton last time he was on in our last episode, and we talked about how Black History Month, it should be something that's taught, all year round, but it should be American history, and it shouldn't be such an emphasis on the race of people necessarily. It should just be that's the history of America. We talk about ancient Egypt and how they had slaves. Nowhere does it talk about any sort of racial, all of that. It's there were slaves. It was bad. And I think that's one huge part. I guess basically what I'm trying to say, to sum it up kind of, is why do we still talk like this is happening still? And
slavery is still happening.
No, I'm not talking about slavery. I'm talking about
you were.
I know, yeah.
Oh,
racist confirmed.
Racist.
No, what I mean,
this guy.
What I mean by that is, everyone out there just they have this thought that racism is so apparent nowadays, and it's so, and it's targeted towards white people, and how white people have to kind of make up for
like white fragility
time.
And white guilt, and
stuff like that. And it's just like it doesn't make any sense to me. Not because I'm a white male, but
white people.
Yeah, but it just doesn't make sense to me that you're trying to fix an issue, or you're claiming to try to fix an issue, and yet encouraging that issue to be fought over. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make much sense to me that you're trying to get rid of a view, but you constantly bring it up every chance you get. You know what I mean?
Well, what's his Morgan Freeman said that great thing that he said was just, how do you end racism? You just stop talking about it. And I feel like that's what we need to do. I mean, dude, essentially when it comes down to it, it's like no one cares about that nonsense. You were born how you're born. There's nothing you can. It's not like you're sitting there in the baby factory going, well, I want to be, this color, that, I want to be this tall. There's none of that nonsense. Get the hell out of here with that shit. So just the fact that you can pick on other people based on these immutable traits that they had no say over whatsoever is the dumbest thing in the world. And vice versa is to say that, we have to give certain opportunities to certain people based on, the same traits. It's the same dumb thing that you could do. It's still racism.
Well,
it gets called reverse racism, but there's no such thing as that. It's just racism.
It's just racism. Yeah. And here's the thing too. You look at the I Have a Dream speech, And one of the most quoted
Here
parts
we go,
of
white guy.
yeah,
voting the black guy.
yeah. But at the same time, it's still relevant. It's still relevant because
Is it?
he says yes.
We're on
He
icy
says,
ground here already.
Nope, don't care. And I'll stand behind my conviction on this,
Okay.
which is, it doesn't matter if Martin Luther King Jr. was black or white. The message that he was getting across was that he had a dream that one day his kids would be judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin.
Yeah.
I think you'd have a really hard time besides white supremacists or black supremacists, whatever. You'd have a really hard time finding anybody that disagrees with that because that is the way it should be. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so when you see it happening, regardless of what race it is,
It's a 7-minute long speech. I'm not gonna
yeah.
Yeah, we tried.
But
Like, ooh.
but the thing
he
is,
might say some other things in that.
and he probably does. He probably does. But the
They think you
context of
go,
the
"Ooh."
speech when he's saying that, obviously he's referring specifically to the black community that has faced the adversity that they have.
Sure, yeah.
But
I mean,
it still
besides
rings.
him, allowing his friend to rape a 14-year-old girl. We don't want to talk.
Yeah,
about
and
that
there's character issues, with Martin Luther King Jr. We don't necessarily need to get into that, but at the same time, his speech still rings true, regardless of if you're
Yeah.
black, white, Asian, Mexican. It doesn't matter, and so I
part.
think
So the Indians don't matter.
Indians, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and list every single race.
Please.
Well,
do.
so you're not going to list off all the races. You're a racist.
Yeah,
Only
I
the
gue-
ones
yeah,
that matter.
So
I
you're
guess.
just going to completely objectify against all individuals.
This is the exact problem we're talking about right now, Joey. But yeah, and again, I'm going off on a rant, but
How are you?
yeah, but honestly, it really is frustrating because that speech is kind of looked at by some as just pointed towards black people because they've suffered that adversity. Well, there's whole other cultures that have been through the same adversity.
Yeah. No,
You
that
know?
applies to everybody.
And it does. It should. But now, you talked about that quote from Morgan Freeman about how we should just stop talking about it. There's a lot of people out there that would say, "Oh, well, that's not going to fix anything. When was the last time you
think
know?"
it would.
But really, realistically, I always go back to this when I think about racism and stuff. I think about the innocence of a child, and I think we touched on this on the last episode too. But a child doesn't care what color your skin is. They judge you based off of your character.
Yeah.
They judge you based off of do they feel threatened by you? Do they are you funny to them? Are you fun? Things like that. It's based off of their character, not by the color of their skin. And that's the way it should be, but there's so many people out there, and what gets me is the white people that will tell other white people they're being racist because they said something.
Yeah.
It's like, who
or
are you?
something that's like a stereotype, and it's like, that's racist of you, and it's like, well, I'm gonna, let's just go with some of the common ones here. Everybody loves fried chicken.
I love fried. Oh my god.
Everybody loves watermelon, especially in the summertime. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And these like weird stereotypes that get applied, and this whole racism argument that gets applied to them. Think about there was an H&M. They came out with that hoodie with the
you were talking about that
the
last
coolest
time.
monkey in the jungle, and they just happened to put it on a black kid.
Yep.
A little black child, whatever, 10-year-old kid, and it's like, dude, the only uproar caused by that is caused by racism. Like, you have to be racist to see racism there. Otherwise, dude, we called Mike. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, we're looking
Thanks
at
for
it
pulling
right
it up.
now.
I wanted to get this for my kid because we used to call him Little Monkey. Like, he was monkey
Yeah.
decorations. Little kids get the monkey decorations.
Yeah, it just so happened to be an
Just-
adopted black kid.
Just so happens to be a black kid. It's like, dude, you really need to look inward and see, like, if you see a problem with that, maybe the problem is you. Because it ain't everybody else, man.
There's, yeah, but honestly, so there's a little bit of me though that thinks there could be people that, man,
Listen,
I'm
man,
gonna go back
I'm
back
gonna
and
just
forth on this, but
listen, because look, the only way to fairly treat everybody is to fairly just treat everybody the same way.
yeah,
You
I
know,
get
that's
it.
how everything should be.
You risk you take the risk of being offensive whenever you
you're
talk
gonna cross
or share your views.
especially you're going to cross stereotype lines too. Stereotypes are meant to be funny. They're comedic relief, man. They're nothing beyond that because, like I said, everybody loves fried chicken. Just because they make it out to be just black people, like, come on, man.
I think what you're trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a stereotype in and of itself does not necessarily need to be racist. It's the way you are using that stereotype
of it, like the way you're interpreting it, the way that people got publicly outraged about this H&M thing with this kid in this hoodie, and it's like,
I would say it's the
look inward. It's you're the one that's viewing that as the racist thing because they're not racist for doing that.
Yeah, I would say it's the intent behind it.
Sure. Well, So do you think the ad is racist?
No, no, not necessarily. What I will say is, I think I can see on a small level that if somebody, let's say a black male, maybe grew up down south where there are literal white racists, and
why are they?
call them,
dude, I'd say more white racists are up north than down south.
Well, either way,
being someone who's lived
somewhere,
down there,
yeah, somewhere.
Well, why are we calling them white racists, not just racists?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no,
that's racist.
Yeah, I get
you're
what
right,
you're saying.
Joe. Thanks for checking us on our privilege here. Because you're right. I've experienced more racism in the north than I have in the south.
Okay. I've lived here my entire life, but
and
either way,
we talked about this the other. We all have black friends because it's a diverse area. Like it's not like you can live here and not have a diverse cast of friends, especially growing up, and you dog on each other, and it's nothing that you go home and you're so mad about that you dwell on it. It's something that you laugh at the time, and no one cares.
Right.
It's not anything that means anything at all.
I guess what I'm talking
about. It's a bonding
about
thing, and I feel like what they've taken is that bonding experience that say the Midwest experience that say maybe the East Coast doesn't experience, and they've like turned this whole, and it might be the internet's fault, right? Because of the whole thing of like connecting the world that wasn't never meant to maybe be connected.
Sure.
But you get these people that look at it from their high ivory towers where they're like, no, you're wrong. You can't treat people that way. These stereotypes. And it's like, and everyone that they're talking about is just getting along and having a good time about it. But they view it as they're the morally superior. I kind of feel like and for me, it's always going to stem down to the personality trait of like, do you view your life of as being more superior to others,
Right.
And like, that's how everybody else should live.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's more associated to a liberal mindset, whereas I'm more like, I don't care what you do. You do you.
Right.
As long as you're not infringing on me and mine, I don't care.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that a ton, but it's, I feel like it stems down to these, like, it's almost like two dominant personality traits, because beyond that, there's all sorts of spider webs of stemming to different things that we all like and do things differently. And some of the things overlap for sure, which does happen. And it's weird from time to time. But it just, I would never impose my will on someone else, man.
Right. And that's where it breaks down, right? I mean, with like this, but you could spider that onto the LGBT stuff. You could spider that onto all kinds of things.
Oh, for sure.
And that is where it does take a turn. And see, what I was getting at with the T-shirt, I could see where people. I could see where people
just say it, dude. Spell it out.
No. I'm trying to get to it because I want to make sure I say it right.
I want to make sure you say it too.
No, I could see that someone that has been, say, a black male in their youth that has been, noticeably, someone has noticeably been racist at them by the intent that a racist would.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I could see where that might, raise the hairs on the back of someone's neck. That being said, though,
do you think an actual black person was offended by that at all, or do you think it was only?
I don't know.
Mostly white
I think
people?
it's yes. That's what I think it is. Because I think that there may have been some black people that did not like that, but I think mostly the biggest stink that it got was from white people. I could about guarantee it. I would agree with you on that 100%. And
that's kind of where I'm getting at.
Yeah,
from
and
that
I
whole
totally
ivory
understand
tower
that.
being like, we know what's better
Yep.
for people. So, and they end up a lot of the time being the most atrocious, racist people because
Yes.
they think they know what's better for everyone by canceling out like stereotypes and shit. And it's like, well, we can't have KFC in the hood. That's racist.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? And stuff like that, where it's just
Right.
like, dude, you do realize like not just black people live there,
right.
and like and everybody kind of likes KFC.
Well, and it's the same idea.
Not just the race.
Well,
the
it's-
race does not determine who likes fried chicken, man.
Yeah, and it's the
This is why I
same
keep coming
idea.
back to this.
It's the same idea
Why are
behind.
you whispering? There's no black people around.
Well, what do you mean? Man?
It's the-
for,
Say it louder.
for comedic effect.
Well, it's the,
I'm
no,
working
but
on
it's
my,
what.
working on my ASMR.
Come on, Kyle. You're a white man. Be loud and proud about
I
it.
am. Yes.
Well,
I'm
what you're
proud
saying.
of being white.
What
Uh-oh.
the way you're talking about
Don't
the
tell the ADL.
the way you're talking
Right
about
is
KFC.
right. Kyle said that.
Oh shit, that was Joe.
No, that was Kyle.
Straight up Asian.
Actually, no, that was Zach. Zach said that.
Yellow
you guys
pride.
done? You guys done?
That was Joe for sure.
were you trying to get a point across? Zach?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't care. You're white.
You're just
Yeah.
yeah.
White people don't
Mhm.
get a don't get a platform here.
Yep. So what I was gonna say is that
So anyway, Kyle.
yep, the can. This is going downhill. The whole KFC in the hood thing.
I just Black Panthered you, by the way.
Weird.
That's a scene
I
in Black
like-
Panther. Look it up.
I like how you made a bunch of noises, right? And then Zach goes in like, so black people in KFC.
No, the whole KFC in the hood thought, right? That's
Yeah.
it's white people saying that that's wrong. It's the same idea.
Hold on.
That you get.
Hold on.
You get from Joe Biden.
Let's take
who
out
says,
KFC. No sponsor. Let's put in Popeyes. I like Popeyes better.
Sure.
I mean that is
Whatever it
That's
is.
probably more appropriate.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to my friend Mike, I'm like, "Hey, what you getting for dinner, bro?" He's like, "Popeyes."
Well,
Dude, and I'm telling you, KFC supposedly, Papa John's even said this. The Colonel was quite the racist.
yeah.
But he know how to make chicken though.
He knew how to make that chicken.
Well,
Like Lyndon B. Johnson, he had them getting KFC for years.
let me make my point.
I hope, and I know you're trying to make your point right now. What I really hope is that there's people on the other end trying to hear your point, and they're just like, "Let them speak."
Like they're edging like a fucking turd coming out like the gopher.
That's our one. That's our one F.
Oh, it's all right. We might be getting a couple more tonight. I pre-gamed a little early.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. No,
Right.
I the point I'm trying to make is
Yes, the point.
it's become such a thing. What you're talking about, the white people
Hold on.
having this thought that they need to be the voice for all of these other races.
Yeah, man, the white
Well,
savior.
It's gotten
It's
to
the
the
white
point
savior
where
that they say we are.
well, and it gets so
But they are.
It gets so mixed up in a lot
I'm
of
not trying to be white savior.
well, yeah, and it gets
Care about
mixed
that
up in
shit.
all of these
Yeah,
people.
we're trying to be white oppressors.
all of these
I'm not trying to be
people.
white nothing. I'm just trying to be a dude.
All of these people
Oh,
that
yeah,
are
your point.
trying
Sorry.
all of these people that are trying to do this are the same ones that are saying outly racist things like
Yes.
Joe Biden saying
Yes.
poor kids just have just as much of an opportunity as white kids or,
Yeah.
sorry,
No,
white
no.
kid poor kids
Oh, you fucked it up.
no, yeah, it was poor kids have just as much of an opportunity as white kids. That's what he
Yeah.
said.
Pretty
Something to
messed
that
up.
effect. And it's like, are you kidding me? Did you hear what you just said? Granted, he
Well,
doesn't hear anything
If
he
you don't
says,
vote
but
for me, you ain't black.
yeah, all of
Remember
this
that,
stuff.
Jack.
And it
Corn Pop ain't got shit on me.
yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about is
Take that to the bank.
these social justice warriors that are the ones that are preaching all of this, you know, they're the ones that are messing it up so badly. So
no, look at this when he said this. Asian and Latino Coalition
You
PAC.
cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
yeah,
Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids.
Oh, the
No, I really
claps.
mean it, but think how we
There
think about
has
it.
to be an applause
We
sign
think,
because
no, we're
every
gonna
time
dumb
he
it
says
down.
some stupid
They
shit,
can do
people
anything
start
anybody else
clapping.
can do. Give it
Yeah.
a shot. You know, the reason we're the country we are is we're a nation of immigrants. It's not an exact. This is not because I'm standing with you.
yes, it is.
It's a fact. We've
Yes,
been
it
able
is.
to cherry pick the single best of every single solitary culture in the world, from every continent in the world. That's why.
God, I hate
What do
this
you
guy.
mean by you?
That
Yeah.
you people.
Yeah, dude.
It's not just
Honestly,
because I'm here with you.
but see, someone could make the argument too, though, that we're nitpicking on this, and when in reality, if we're talking about not talking about race, then we shouldn't even be talking about this. You see what I'm
What
saying?
do you mean?
So, like, if we're talking about, we shouldn't even be talking about how white people act. If we're going to say that,
Well, shouldn't we?
Not-
We're white people. Be
right,
ex-Joe.
right, but at the same time, you could also say, well, he's half white.
Now, you already heard me light you guys up last episode about calling me white.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I don't view him as white at all.
I don't know. See, this stuff has so many little idiosyncrasies, and that's why it's so easy for them to push this stuff.
Zach, are
That's-
you saying because I'm a half breed, I can't talk half as much?
Didn't say that.
Wait,
That's what it sounded like. You're like, oh, he's
are you
half
saying
white.
because I'm a race mixer, I don't have a voice?
Nope.
Oh, well, they are.
How come, Zach? How come you only have a white family, huh?
Yeah, why do you get that white family all to yourself?
What?
What?
Anyway,
Isn't that how this works?
you guys have had a few more than I have, haven't you?
I'm trying to just fucking fit in. Oh, I did it. Oh, there's our two. I hope that's how this works.
No, I.
anyways.
You just said fit in. I didn't hear you say anything.
Yeah, I said fit.
Oh.
You got to be fit for the podcast. No
Well-
one's in the cuck chair today.
If you have to be, then why is
Joe?
Zach here then?
Joe, do you want to squirm over there?
No, I'm not. I'm not the cuck of this organization.
That's true. You're
That's
the producer.
my. Well, it's not my chair, but it's the chair that I put.
Well, it is
people in.
your chair. Let's see. All right, dude, if we got to be specific about these races, we got to be specific about the owner of the cuck chair. The owner of the cuck chair is you.
No, it is. Well, okay, fine. But it's also the person that sits there is always the guest.
That's true. That's true.
But I'm not the
We
guest.
don't
I'm
have
the-
a guest. You're right. You're the
I'm the
producer. Yeah, you're
producer.
the. Oh, all right. Well, then you got to be more involved every episode here on going forward. You agreed now. Otherwise, you are the cook for life. Oh, shit. Dude, my beer's all tangled up in the mic. All right. So, man. Shit. All right.
We've gotten off the rails.
No, we haven't. So, the point, dude, it's just comedy, man. It's clown world, and it's got to be clown world because the fact that these people are running around and people are taking them seriously, they're going to white rich women are hiring black people to come and call them racist during dinner and tell them all about how they're racist and like everything they do is wrong
Hey,
and
whoa,
racist.
whoa, Kyle,
Don't whoa me, motherfucker.
No, we don't.
Look, like,
We
dude,
don't kink shame around here.
Okay.
That's their kink. You allow them to do that.
I get to kink shame whoever I want.
Well, what are
this
you-
is America, goddammit, and freedom of speech. Woo! So listen to
well,
me.
expound on that because I've never heard of that.
What?
Kink shaming?
No, a white
I'll kink shame all day.
rich white
Yes.
female
Okay.
hiring.
They are high. There's like I don't know what the term for it is. I don't know. There's probably a name. It's probably some sort of therapeutic session or some crap. But they're literally hiring these people to, like these DEI experts, and they do like a big dinner luncheon. They invite their friends, almost like a Tupperware party. But instead, they get to tell them the whole time about. So you know how you came up and introduced yourself to me? You know that was racist, right? And then they like go and make them all feel awkward and just like dissect what they were doing and how it was racist. And it could literally be like the way they shook their hand was supremacist and it was a white supremacy patriarchy tactic. And it's a mixture of like black supremacy and feminazism. And I don't like it, man. Because I feel like it just leads to straight up Nazism / communism, whatever way they want to take it. But it's authoritarianism through the worst degrees, and it's just causing this division, like you mentioned before. And it's just in everything. And they hit the youth, and they hit the intellectuals, and they're hitting the colleges. So all these people are coming out, and they're like, well, the 1619 Project is correct, and that's why America was founded, because they wanted to keep slavery going, and yada, yada, and yeah, the patriarchy. And it's this weird conglomeration that they believe, and it's all bullshit. And they're trying to espouse it on us, and it's like, listen, man, we know that they were teaching us crap in school, but you guys have taken this thing, and you've taken it so far over the line that it's absolutely an abomination.
Yeah.
I mean, like this critical race theory that's taught in schools, which
What's the definition?
The
Eli?
dictionary definition is a noun, a set of ideas holding that racial bias is inherent in many parts of Western society, especially now listen, just Western society,
Yeah.
but especially in its legal and social institutions on the basis of their having primarily designed, implemented by white people. This started off as just a law school thing. It's now, they say, well, it's just a collegiate course, but this whole premise of what that's talking about has been applied to like your Common Core math questions are based on critical race theory. So it's like, Jake was arrested by a white cop so many times, and it's like a math question based on critical race theory ideas, and English and all these other prompts, they're all based on critical race theory now. And you're inventing these weird Marxists in kids. You've got kids now too. And this isn't about the critical race thing, but it's similar because it's all, I feel like, together. It's all, in essence, the means for a greater end, right? But you have the kids right now chanting songs about inclusivity and shit in kindergarten and young schools. And some of the people that have come here from China that survived the Mao Revolution, growing up during that, said that the same thing happened to them during childhood. These were the same things that they were being taught. So I really fear for our future, and I feel like this is a Thucydides trap. When one superpower overtakes another, there's a guarantee of world war. But I feel like with the United States is such a pro regime change, color revolution. That's what the CIA is. That's what they're known for. Our military is a great supporter of it, and essentially that's our thing. I feel like China's just doing it to us right now, and instead of having trying to avoid World War III, that's what they're trying to do. Versus like the Trump plan was trying to bring back the manufacturing and then bring a more isolationist America and some of our overseas bases. So it would essentially be us bowing down, but not so much. It would be avoiding a world war conflict. And a world war at this stage is going to be nuclear weapons, and it's going to be annihilation around the world. So I feel like maybe the isolationist approach is better than this approach.
I didn't know that Trump just came out and said, on day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto our children.
Didn't need any more reason to vote for the man, but there you go.
So we just tackled like 5 different subjects in that rant.
I'm sorry, man.
Well, no, and that's fine. That's fine. But I do want to expand on a few of those because I think, I think one of the reasons that this gets under so many people's skin too is because
what kind of skin, Zach?
Anytime that any of this comes
Black
up,
skin, white skin, brown skin, yellow skin.
There's so many of those little idiosyncrasies that you could argue about for hours.
Yeah.
Just one tiny little thing, and that's what makes it so easy for people to argue about. And that is one of the things that they are really good at pushing. It's those little things, A blanket statement about critical race theory almost doesn't exist because you talk about how it's going to affect the black community, right? Then you talk about how it's going to affect the white community. It's never how's it going to affect society. It's about all these tiny little things. And racism in the country, it's never just a blanket statement like you said Morgan Freeman made, which is don't talk about it.
Right.
It should make so much sense to so many people, but when you get on the small, tiny, little, minute things that come up during these conversations, that's when all hell breaks loose. And so I think, all right,
man. Well, what do you want to expand on then? Like, let's break it down.
The first, so now I got to try to remember what you were bringing up.
A whole bunch of shit.
No. Well, I just wanted, because you brought so many things up, I wanted to expand on them.
Okay.
I guess the first one was that. Now I don't even remember, dude.
Oh, dude, come on.
This is great for podcasts.
Yeah,
we love this.
I don't know.
Well, let's just sit here now and try to remember what I said.
Yeah,
Zach, I wanted him all the dead air.
No,
this is your fault.
Give me like 45 seconds of dead air, and let's just think.
No, 45 seconds of dead air.
This is a dead air time to think.
Yeah.
This is your fault, Zach.
No.
Thanks for this.
Well, when you cruise through so many subjects.
Listen, man. All right. It's not like, dude, we bring this up all the time, but it's a bunch of nuanced crap because it is a bunch of different attacks. And And I feel like people not taking it seriously is what's, it's letting it happen. And it's like all these things you can see instant, like you can see one thing happening individually, super obviously. And then it's not until you like take that step back and that step even further back where you're like looking at it from a whole and you're like, dude, this is crazy. Like what's going on right now? And then you like just different things. The Yuri Bezmenov stuff about the, what the Soviet Union wanted to do to us. And then you learn it's like, well, Soviet Union obviously dissolved. So it's like, did it just take forever to come to fruition? Or did the people who freaking idolized the shit out of Lenin and Joseph Stalin, China, actually just be like, well, maybe a bunch of those guys defected to China once the Soviet Union dissolved, and they just kind of kept the plan rolling, and except for China's better at it than the Soviet Union was, so they were like, well, we're just going to make it seem like we're not doing it. And, it might take longer, but we can wait.
Now we got Putin giving Tucker Carlson a history lesson.
Yeah, man.
And a wrong history lesson, but it's like,
well,
don't you know that? Like, you're slightly skewed, but okay.
And so, like, I had RT on my phone for a long time. And you know what? It's a world RT, Russian Times News. Oh. So it's all right. It's a world news platform for me because we don't have world news here in America. You could look at the Australian news and what's the Australian one? They have one.
We have NPR.
Like guffaw, sir. No. Okay. Yeah, we also have what's the other propaganda network? America First News or something like that. It's the one that gets it's the one that gets broadcast to foreign nations.
I have no idea.
We have that one too, Joe. That's a great source for, it's the same thing. Look, you got to understand these things have like their world news is going to be more accurate than ours because ours is going to be skewed in a way that makes us look like the good guys. But we are the world's superpower. You can't take that. Like you got to take it for a grain of salt.
Yeah, we are the good guys.
Exactly. And everything that they say, we're always going to be the good guys. You're right, Joe. We are the good guys. So when RT says some stuff and you're like reading it and you're like, okay, all right, well, okay. So you start to see like there's going to be some truth to it, right? You get the bias from it and you're like, all right, well, anything that's going to be Russian based, like about Russia, the country itself, or Putin himself, is going to be super positive. It's Russian media. No duh. Because over there, they do kill journalists for like going against the regime. Well, here we do, but we don't say we do. Well, it's the whole thing with Dick Cheney's deal with, well, the United States does not torture. So when the United States does torture, it's actually enhanced interrogation techniques.
Yeah.
Cut me a freaking... Dude, cut me some slack, man. It's all bullshit.
Well, you have that dude that wouldn't do that military coup,
Navalny or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Alexei Navalny or whatever.
No, not him, but the guy that had the Wagner group. He wouldn't like storm their capital, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
and then like he went and met with Putin, like, oh, we're all boys, and then mysteriously his plane gets shot down.
Yeah,
like no, we know.
There was something weird
and then to say that doesn't happen in the United States is factually wrong.
Yep,
we're just a little more covert about it.
Yeah, and they won't come out and fully admit it. Whereas like Russia's flexing and like just slapping their cock on the table, going like, "Look at what we just did." Blah. Well, and it's like you're not going to keep on doing it. In America, I mean, dude, you got weird stuff that happens, like with the election stuff that happened, and then all of a sudden with Georgia, and they're like, "Yeah, this was weird," and the governor's like, we're going to do stuff," and then his daughter's boyfriend's car blows up, and it's like, oh, well, now we're not going to do stuff anymore, and we're just going to go with this and that and this and the other thing.
Or all the individuals that died that had
the
dirt
Hillary
on
Clinton.
Hillary Clinton.
The Hillary Clinton body count. Yeah, man. Well, that's a real thing, dude.
So we're talking about
back to
the
black
blacks?
people.
Yeah, the blacks.
Well, no. We're talking about you mentioned that you think is one of your thoughts that another country or a foreign entity is behind the kind of division. I'm not saying you're right or wrong.
Look,
I'm just asking.
Dude, all right. So influencing, sure, absolutely. Because it mirrors what happened in their countries. All this stuff mirrors it. Yes. But the fact is, there's people here that have been manipulated for so long through our like we talked about it on the last episode. The education system's just so crap, and it's been progressively getting crappier and crappier. When you have all these Chinese nationals in our universities, basically stealing our tech and our research and everything else, and doing and just injecting Marxism. There's the whole thing of like, asking what religious domination a Chinese soldier is. They're going to say Marxist, which is like transhumanism. Like, it's not to a god. You're to Karl Marx. Like,
right.
you think he's your god? Like, what is this crap, man? These people don't view God as a thing. In fact, like, in China, they're bulldozing mosques and like calling Islam a mental illness. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say that. I don't have a good instance or good frame of reference on all Muslims. You know, a majority of the Muslims that I know of are, generally people that hate Western values and hate America. But on some of the hate, dude, I give them some freaking credit, because it's like, well, yeah, this LGBT stuff and all this other nonsense is very demonic and devilish, and it's like, it's not Christian or anything. And I feel like true Muslims probably view a lot more on the same playing field as true Christians, and we'd shake hands along the way. But like, there's like a weird zombie sect of Islamists that are like extremists, that, the whole jihad type thing, where they view and this is similar, no Jew hate here, but like to Judaism, where they view it being okay to take advantage of others that aren't their faith. In Sharia law and all these, and in the same Jew, it's like taking advantage of, killing, or anything of someone who's not their faith. God forgives them, and that's the only faiths where that's like okay. In Christianity, it's never okay. It's never an okay thing to do based on their faith or religion. That's the kind of the whole point. Is it's like Christianity is based on how to be just a good human being, and I feel like, we're in the Lent season right now, and I feel like that whole season should take a lot more precedence on the Black history stuff and this critical race theory stuff that's going on in America, and kind of like how you said, it's like Black history, it shouldn't just be a monthly thing. It should just be something that's just in. The fact that it's still segregated should be offensive to everyone. And it should be something that's just integrated into all American history. And it should just be kind of exactly how you said, a year-round thing. Like, everyone who's just like, well, you just want us to say that slavery was, just get over it. It's like, no. We should celebrate the fact that we did get over it as a people, as America, as a country, as a union. And a lot of people gave their lives. And it may not have necessarily came down to the slavery thing as to why they were fighting. It came down to their territory where the war found them. And that's unfortunate, but a lot of people fought for this ideals. And I mean, dude, we were one of the first places to end this thing, and slavery is still going on to this day.
Oh, around the,
And if it weren't for maybe President Obama, because I feel like this whole racism thing, maybe the internet, I don't know. That's where I want to try to blame more foreign nations. But I feel like, in my personal opinion, Obama was a planted president, by the Saudis or whoever. But it was like an Islamist president coming to really shake up this place, because I feel like they're one of the powers that's more hidden under the cloak and dagger of world powers trying to take over. And I feel like Iran, the Islam world, is one of them, China being the other. And then you have the World Economic Forum globalist types.
So let me ask you this then.
Sure.
So if you think at the very least, all of this divide that we have, whether it's racial, whether it's gay or straight,
right.
If you think at least some of it is influenced by foreign entities, what do you think the motive is behind it? I mean, is it just?
Well, all right. So the Islamist way of living. So if you think about, all right, and what they do to gay people is they kind of enforce them to get sex changes. What they're doing to our kids now is they're disrupting like Western society. They're making all the kids all confused and gay and whatnot, and then they're pushing the puberty blockers on them, the sex change operations, really young, basically before they even go through puberty, which essentially sterilizes them. They'll never have kids.
Right.
If some of the girls have top surgeries, if they do eventually even detransition and have kids, they'll never be able to breastfeed.
Yeah.
Ever.
So
I'm just saying. So that's like the Islamist approach. You have now, from the Chinese perspective, the Mao Revolution was a way to shake up the current regime so that you could install communism. If you look at one of the things when COVID was going around, and I believe I told you and like Tommy this, because I was paying attention to all these weird theories that were, because like I take everything with a grain of salt, right? Like I take a bunch of these theories, I read them all, no matter how crazy they are, and it's like there's some truth to almost each and every single one.
Oh, yeah.
That gets it to where it's going. Someone with a imagination definitely takes it somewhere a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But there was definitely one about if basically the COVID, it was going to be COVID-19 and then something called COVID-21. COVID-19 was going to come in and rock the world up, but it was mostly just kind of like to kind of get the systems in place. Once the systems were in place, there was going to be a lull, and then another disease was going to come in that was actually going to like be killing, like people were going to be dropping dead in the streets type of disease, like an Ebola type deal. And then so essentially once that happens, you're going to have, global chaos, basically civil war going off in a lot of countries. And then the UN gets to take over and step in and take place. Well, it's like, look at who leads some of these UN boards of civil rights and other boards. It's like China, Venezuela, and like all these countries that aren't really known to be very good on human rights.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but from what you just told me, you think that the motive behind it would be, one, at the very least, to confuse the American populace or the West, confuse them to a point where it would be maybe easier to attack them, or to institute some sort of new world order that would give them more control.
Yeah, both.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, both. The confusion to institute it,
Sure.
whether that be through our border being so porous right now and that they've instituted, maybe a bunch of their military's here right now. I don't know. Maybe a bunch of their spies are here. I don't know. Maybe a bunch of their saboteurs are here. I don't know.
We want 5,000 illegals every day, though.
Yeah, the border bill. Have you seen the border bill? Let's segue into the border bill. I know that's,
Well, we talked about it last time too.
Yeah, but like it does legalize the illegal operation that's going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, you know my thought on this. There's no reason we should be letting as many people through as we are right now, especially at a time where we're funding other wars.
We're potentially in wartime because they keep spilling that we're at war with Russia, even though like they keep saying the Ukraine thing. We're they keep saying this verbiage, and it's like I didn't realize we declared war on Russia.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
The proxy war thing, I understand, and I understand the legalities of them getting away with it, and everybody like can see it. But it's like they're full on saying like, if we don't support Ukraine, we are going to lose this war.
Yeah. 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 I think the only reason I ask about the motives is because it gives a little bit of credence to what we're saying, and I don't disagree with you. I think a lot of this is to weaken America, because the more that we fight amongst ourselves, the easier it is for anyone else to come in and already have some sort of standing military of some sort.
I thought we were talking about black people.
Well, see, the problem is
that's what we're talking about.
Exactly. The problem is the weakening of America, the divide, and they're taking the black people and they're trying to input this thing. And I swear, man, almost all this stuff is a repeat of the Jimmy Carter presidency, right? The helter-skelter thing, the start of a race war, we had the gas crisis, all these things happened then. I feel like it was the same behind the thing, whoever that was, whether it was China or whoever, the Global World Economic Forum people, whoever it was. But it was like, oh, it didn't work because the technology isn't here yet. And now the technology is here. Because I fear a world where like drones are everywhere, kind of like a Minority Report situation where it's like, oh, you've been arrested for thought crime. Like, what do you mean? Like, oh yeah, in like 2 hours you're gonna potentially kill somebody or something.
This is what we're talking about. So this could be a totally separate episode too. But the entire social credit score system, that goes hand in hand. But
they have that in China right
now. I know. Yeah, that's crazy to me too.
Joey, would you like to talk about the Oh, never mind. That's right. You're not that Asian. My bad.
Well, I think one of the things about the social credit score thing is,
I'm gonna say it.
There's some there's some places. I think a social credit score, quote unquote, I think it already happens within parts of society. You know what I mean? It's just your character. For instance, if you come up to me and
Okay. Yeah.
you see that I'm pushing a little kid around and pushing him out of my way as I'm walking down the sidewalk and kicking a small dog and all of that, if you see my face the next day, regardless of what I'm doing, you're going to automatically equate me to some person
I
that's
get what
kind of
you're
me.
saying.
No, well, what did they do first though? What did that little kid
What
do?
did that dog? Yeah, that kid.
Yeah, what did
man.
that dog do to you?
Did
But
that dog pee on you, man?
but I think there's
It's disrespectful.
I think there's already a certain sort of social credit score that
Yeah.
people have in their minds already, and I don't think it's definitely not something that needs to be enforced
It's
by.
perception is reality, but it's earned. Like it's earned in.
Yeah.
It's called bullying.
I mean that too.
Well-
but it's like it's oh man, there's got to be a phrase.
Well,
for that.
and this is well, but
it's
this
just
is what
living
we're
life and earning what
yeah,
you get.
and
Like,
this is and this is where we
karma.
talk about. This is where we talk about you can have an ideal, but until it doesn't affect me until you push it on me, and then it does affect me. That's what this is. I mean, when you're talking about a social credit score, you're talking about pushing your ideals onto me. You're saying
Yeah.
that your ideals are the right ones, and that I need to conform to your ideals.
Well, that's why these things never make. Because like, yeah, man, think about it. Well, just think about if everybody's, instead of credit financially the way it is, man, then you get loans based on, well, maybe you don't use as much power in your house and you shut off the lights responsibly, or the water utility. You don't just leave it on the entire time you're brushing the teeth. You turn it off and you turn it on as needed. And these things can be reflected by your meter and everything else.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good, maybe be judged by those things, right? Like, your footprint on the world, and, you get a basic score, and that determines how good of a person you are. All these things can sound so good.
Yeah,
But you say one wrong thing on Twitter though.
Dude, you say one wrong thing
Yeah,
at
that's
all.
exactly.
You say one wrong, and the guy that made this philosophy, well, he expires, and then there's going to be someone else that takes his place that, well, he doesn't have those same philosophies.
Yeah,
No, guess
right.
what? Yeah, you flush the toilet more than 5 times in a day? What are you? What kind of family do you have going on there?
yeah. It's
That's
almost
ridiculous.
like if I flush more, I pay more for my water bill.
Well, instead of that, we're just going to send soldiers to
Exactly.
your house and
Right.
kill you.
Right.
for taking more resources than what's needed for the greater good of the greater society.
I mean, that sounds like it's deserved though. I mean, like you're gonna use the water that I could have used.
Yeah, you could have used that water.
Yeah,
You're right.
Just like Taylor Swift flying from frickin' Japan to
Yeah,
Kansas City every day
right.
just to watch her boyfriend. Like, hey man, I could have used that gas.
See, I think it all comes down to like, communists suck. I think it all just comes down to that, man. Fuck communism. That's our third.
Well, Zach's not here, and for any of those that don't know, Zach is currently using the bathroom because he's a very bad co-host.
Bad bladder too.
Yeah, you would think that if you're running a podcast and you're not even an hour in, you wouldn't need to use the bathroom. But
Oh, we're not even an hour in.
yeah, and he's using the bathroom.
I haven't even touched this glass of whiskey. I have
Yeah.
no desire to use the pisser at all.
I think you need to find a new co-host, Kyle.
Joey, you want to be my co-host?
Um,
It's fine. You can double dip.
can you be accountable?
You can hold me accountable, buddy. In fact, I'll be here when you don't even know I'm coming. Nah, man. Oh, there he is. We weren't talking nothing about you at all. Nothing at all. Hey, what you drinking on there now? They switching up. No, it's not that time of the episode yet. Save it for later. So the blacks. So when it comes down to everything, I mean, no, in all seriousness, like all this thing can be stemmed down to, it's like, dude, no one gives a shit.
Yeah, about those Kenyans.
They run really fast. But dude, like the African accent of some of those people, I love it, man. It's so enjoyable. And like, I'm just going to go down with it, man. These people are great. The African immigrants that come to this country fucking love this country better than most fucking actual black people who live here. I'll say it. I don't give a fuck. But when it comes down to it, what I'm getting at is the black people that live here are Americans, man. Just like every white person lives here. You can call them white, but dude, There's Scandinavian, there's Spanish, there's
So-
all sorts of different like European backgrounds.
So
and
Zach no longer wants to be on the podcast.
No. There's
listen,
there
I'm
is-
serious,
There
man.
is something interesting that you said though, and I've noticed it too, is that a lot of times immigrants that come here legally
Yeah.
are some of the most American Americans.
And what I'm saying is they are the actual African Americans is the point. And a lot of the people, you say black. Well, no, I'm African. It's like, no, you're just a black American. Like, you don't understand. You're here now. As I am a white American, you
Yeah.
are a black American. We are brothers and sisters of this land. And like the whole going back on the history thing, like hey man,
Well,
you need to realize like the founding fathers fought kings and queens and like ancient systems to basically be like God gives you your rights and freedoms, not man.
Yeah.
My mom is literally Republican, and she's from the old country.
It's the old country.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I like to do too, maybe it's just because of the way I grew up or it's the culture that I've kind of grown
What,
up
touch
in,
little boys?
is
Please don't touch little boys. That's bad, McCullough.
I like to look at it as through a Christian lens, through my Christian point of view.
I know what Christians like to do.
For instance,
Not Catholic though.
for instance, when you talk about okay, what so and so visits your church, a black guy visits your church, an Asian guy visits your church, a Mexican guy visits your church. Okay, you don't.
Well,
you,
white
you
people
wouldn't
can't
treat
visit churches.
a white guy visits your church, whatever it is.
Wow.
You don't look at them any differently. You don't expect
No, exactly.
anything different from them.
When you went to Lent service just recently, were there other races?
There absolutely was.
Yeah.
This-
Same with
this
me.
is actually-
and
this
you
actu-
went to a Lutheran service. I went to a Catholic service.
Yeah, and
they're
this
kind
was-
of brothers in arms, but
Yeah,
a little different.
Well, so we went to Ash Wednesday service.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And what was interesting, this is the largest Ash Wednesday service that I've myself have ever been to. I
was
think
for
we
me,
had.
too.
I think we had granted our congregation might be a little bit smaller than the one you attended, but
Hold on, Joe.
we
Did
had-
you do Ash Wednesday?
I was working.
anyway, here we go. The piety comes in here. Here comes the piety.
Listen,
So
Kyle.
Listen
how long
here,
have you been a
bud.
Christian?
Kyle,
none.
this
I don't claim to be a Christian at all. In fact, I went to Catholic Mass
Ooh.
Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, guess
I'm gonna
what-
one up on you
How
right
about-
now.
Guess what Catholics are?
You know what they do?
You know
They
what Catholics
kneel on
are?
a little bench, and I have no idea when they're doing it.
Yeah,
and
you-
I look like a
you
dumbass
wanna
when I'm
guess
going to
what
Catholic
you
Mass.
wanna guess what
you wanna
Lutherans
you
do
wanna
as
guess
well?
who looks like a dumbass during Catholic Mass, but who goes anyways? This guy.
Yeah, you want to see
Right
who looks
here.
like a weirdo in the middle of a bunch of white people in Lutheran church? The Asian guy,
You're Filipino. Doesn't
which is
count.
Asian, you prick.
It can, dude, but you look Mexican. You can, dude. And this is the largest population of Mexicans here in the Midwest.
What, Filipinos?
Yes, somehow, yes. I think that can make sense, depending on how drunk you are.
Oh, anyway, I will say this is one of our most candid episodes.
I do like it. So
No,
what were we talking about?
no, I said that I like to equate it to
Oh.
the way I would react to someone visiting our church. Especially when you talk
shouldn't
about
act any differently based on who comes in, right?
exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly my point. And
Okay.
you shouldn't be. My
Except
pastor,
for weebs, though.
my
those
my
guys are
Judge
pastor,
those people.
Those lolly fuckers, man.
My-
That's basically one step away from pedophilia.
my pastor said something that really I hadn't really thought of until he said it, or I had, but it was interesting. He talked about how if we claim to be a church that wants to grow, and we want to bring more people to the kingdom of Christ, okay,
Like it.
then we have to be.
exclude the blacks.
No, we have
Shit.
to be
That's
a
rough.
church that is willing to accept anybody that
But-
walks through.
So is that
the
to
doors.
say that you weren't expecting anybody before? Like
No.
you weren't
What I
accepting
mean-
of everyone
what I-
before?
No, what I mean, the reason that was such a cool idea is so. I will give you a little bit of a backstory. because I want to stay sensitive to any members, but there was somebody.
sensitive. Wow.
No. There was
So
somebody.
back in the day, we used to
Shut
dress
up.
up in sheets.
Shut up.
Cut holes in the hoods.
We had someone.
Burn some crosses.
We had somebody that had a very visible, very distinguishable
Okay, just say they were black,
mental
Zach.
illness.
Oh my god! Yeah, the color of their skin was different.
I'm about to throw these headphones. We had somebody that had
All right, they were mentally ill.
yes, to the point where it was probably distracting other people
Like
in
a
the
tick,
pews.
like a.
No.
They would like just say things or.
Are you talking about me right now?
Yeah, it was kind of like
Joe's
a
good people.
it was kind of like a schizophrenia type
Sure,
thing.
like a.
And-
And what's Tourette's? Like a Tourette's type thing.
No.
Oh.
It wasn't Tourette's. It was
But they
more
had
like
outbursts.
yes.
Okay.
There were outbursts that were not
Were they
necessarily
black?
appropriate. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Anyway, what and so it was one of those things where if you consider yourself to be a church that is going to grow and wants more people to come to the kingdom, you have to be willing to step outside of comfort. And
Yeah.
it's not always comfort. Take for instance, have you ever
Well, like telling that guy like to shut the hell up.
No, have you ever talked to
That
somebody
is uncomfortable.
That's pretty uncomfortable.
have you ever talked to somebody with Alzheimer's?
Ooh, yes.
You know how uncomfortable that is?
Dude, I had a guy with Alzheimer's try to tell me to like stick a. All right, I'm just gonna equate to what he told me to sticking a screwdriver in an electrical outlet, and he wanted me to do that, and he didn't want me to leave until I did that.
Yeah. So it's
yes.
stuff like that. It's
I've had
uncomfortable.
these conversations
Yeah, and
with
it's
people.
and it's very uncomfortable. But at the same time, if we're going to claim to be a church that wants to cater to all people who want to listen, you have to be able to talk to people like that and have the, be uncomfortable sometimes in doing exactly what you're saying you want to do. And so
Sure.
I think, even
So
if you're not
uncomfortable when
comfortable
you talk
with
to anybody that's different than you.
no, not necessarily. I think that you shouldn't shy away from something that you are uncomfortable with. That's what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
There's a lot of people out there that are uncomfortable talking to new people at all. But that's one huge fundamental of
Yeah.
a church growing is you need to be able to build relationships. If you're a new if you're a new person visiting a church, you have to build some sort of relationship with someone in that church. Otherwise, they're not going to keep coming back. So you need to make sure that there's some sort of relationship there
Yeah,
within your
man, but
congregation.
There's got to be a. That's the hardest thing ever because there's got to be a gauge because some people just want to go, and it can be really off-putting when a bunch of
Yes.
people are coming up to them
For
being like,
me-
"Hey, this, and that," and it's just like, "Look, man."
For
I just,
me, it's
I'm just
very-
starting to find
yes.
a church here. And
For me,
you got
it's
like
very-
6 or 7 different people coming up telling you all sorts of different shit. It's like,
and for me, it's very
man.
difficult. It's very difficult to ride that line because so I'm in a position in the church where I greet people at the beginning of service.
Just certain people, right?
between
like at the door,
at
or
the
you
door.
handing like a kind of like a
The
program,
flyer,
you're
the
handing
program,
the flyer out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the other thing that we try to do too is we try to kind of mingle at any sort of fellowship event.
Mm-hmm.
So we have fish fries every Friday.
I like fish fry.
And one of the things that we do as
Did you
on
want
our board
Did you want to drop when you can see a fish fry?
every Friday during Lent at Messiah Lutheran Church,
Where?
Where's that at? Messiah Lutheran Church?
Where?
Beloit, Wisconsin.
Where? I'm just kidding.
But no, that's one of the things that we try to do really well is try to talk to people. But you do ride a fine line of being overbearing
Yeah.
versus welcoming. And that is a fine line that's from person to person, because you'll find that there's a person that will sit there and talk to you till you're blue in the face, and they love it. They love the interaction. And then there's other people who want to come in. They're there for the fish fry. They just want to be, hey, how's it going? If you need anything, we're here. That's all they want.
Maybe
You
they
know?
just want some fish, man.
Yeah. So
And
you know
that's
what?
possible too.
You know what you do, right? Anybody that's out there listening and stuff, and you go to church, you know what you want to do is you see someone that you don't know, and you're like, why haven't you gone here before? What's your problem?
That's
exactly what you want to say.
bad idea.
And what not to do with Joe.
Yeah.
So
it's-
no, dude,
it is. It's a fine line that you
Mm-hmm.
do. And honestly, I've been to churches myself that were way overbearing, and
Yeah.
I was not comfortable at all. But then there's other times where, you're sitting waiting for service to start, and someone just kind of comes up to you or comes over to you, sits by you, and says, "Hey, my name's such and such. I'm
Sure.
I'm such and
It's a
such
weird
title." Yeah, I'm such and such title in the church. Just let me know if you have any questions,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'd be willing
that's
to
weird.
answer. And
Man,
I'm just like,
That's cool, dude.
all right, yeah, that's cool.
I gotta say, like, the only time I like going, the only service I like attending, is the Ash Wednesday service. Mostly because the message is great, right? It's the whole, if you're gonna be a Christian, be a Christian. Don't you shouldn't have to virtue signal or any of these things. It's just live it, and that's kind of the signal. That's kind of the message or the message. I don't know what it is. Corinthians something or other, maybe. Maybe I'm missing.
Well, there's
I'm not a scholarly guy on the religion stuff, but
Yeah, well,
it's
Ash
that
Wednesday-
whole message of
Yeah.
you should be here to be here. The whole sacrifice is I take that serious. That's the only thing I really take seriously out of the symbolism of it all. That's the one I really like. Of course, I like the saints from the Catholic faith. I think that's cool. I really like the idea of it all.
So you like to worship deities?
No. I just get inspiration through the stories of the angels that they come up with and the saints. Is that fair for you?
Not exactly.
I don't worship anybody, but I know that there's something out there bigger than me. I don't have to worship it. I just know that I don't worship myself and that I live for something greater. I put a lot more above myself in my family and everything else, and my motivation for just trying to be a better person. For instance, when my father-in-law died, he told me, what he wanted for me. He was on his deathbed. Obviously, he wasn't dead yet, but he told me, I just be a good person. Make it so when people say your name, they associate it with being a good guy.
Sure.
And it's like,
You said it a little more spicy though, right?
no, it was pretty much just exactly like that.
So,
But no, it was good stuff. And that's how, me personally try to live my life. And that's how I personally view my lens and my worldview. But when it comes all down to all this stuff and the critical race theorists and the Lent and the true sacrifice on who you're going to be, a lot of these people are phonies and grifters, man. They're out there spouting their racism crap. They're making a ton of money off of it right now. And it's all going to karma come back to them. And, a bunch of them are going to be slapped. And I bet you a bunch of these people end up in prison for frauding institutions and shit. I bet you that's what it comes down to, a lot of the DEI and the critical racists.
yeah.
Well, you got Joel Osteen himself, who who
No, go ahead.
insuranced $400,000 and then mysteriously found it in his walls.
Sorry, say that again? What happened?
He made an insurance claim that someone stole like $400K.
Yeah.
And then one day, some guy was doing renovations, opened up a wall, and found $400K in the walls. Which
well,
is
that kind of sounds like he misplaced $400K and blamed someone for it, for stealing it.
No, it kind of
Well, yeah.
sounds like he hid it so he could claim it.
called.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, listen, man.
And then
televangelists are not to be trusted.
And then it came full circle when a shooter walked in.
Oh.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Yeah, the trans shooter.
Uncertain whether it was trans.
It was a trans shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it was a chick, dude.
Well, the thing
And
was
brought
that
a
they
child
came,
with it too.
Yeah, and the child got shot in the head. So.
I think the child died. Right? I thought the
Maybe.
child was not supposed to survive. Last I heard, that was
last I heard
a
it
while
was
ago.
critical condition. I don't know. Then there was a 59-year-old who got shot but got released.
Okay,
Then she died on the spot. So
good. By some off-duty police officers with some well-aimed, Speaking of that, I actually showed my kid the other day.
well, unless the cop shot the kid, then it was less well aimed.
Depends on what. Maybe she had like a cardboard cutout taped to the kid's hands, of an AR. Have you seen that?
No.
No. Oh, it's something they do. They tape fake guns to kids' hands. And
Oh,
you never
or,
know,
or
man.
if the kid was just like not white.
Yeah.
good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. there is stuff. No, there is stuff that I'd like to touch on about religion, but I think that can be its own episode because there's a lot that we could dive into there, and I think that would actually be one thing that you and me really disagree with, and we could have a conversation about because I've heard some criticism from people saying, "Oh, well, you guys just agree a lot," and so that would be one that we could actually talk about, and I think we would have a difference on, but. Going back to that, like I said, I like to look at these things as from a religious perspective. And most of the time when you're talking about trying to run a church or welcome other people into your church, normally you never discriminate. The way I look at it is every single one of us is a sinner. That's the way I look at it. Every single one of us is a sinner, and
that's what the book
I
says.
I have no more reason to be here than anyone else, regardless of if they wear their sin on their shirt sleeve. You know what I mean? That's a metaphor. I don't mean literally on their shirt sleeve, but I mean someone that say they're openly gay. A gay couple walks in. Okay, gay couple walks in and sits down right at the front of the church.
Yeah, we can't be none of that.
Well. No. My point is that the Bible points out that homosexuality is sexual sin, and so regardless of whether they're gay or not, they're a sinner. It doesn't matter what kind of sin they're committing because every sin, the way I look at it, is every sin pounds the nail in harder to Christ's hand or feet. That's the way I look at it, and so there's no reason for me to discriminate between someone's sin. Can I sit here and talk about how those ideals are bad for our country? Sure, I can say that. But when push comes to shove, if I'm in church on Sunday morning, I'm greeting people and two men walk in holding hands, they have every right to be there as well.
For those of you wondering why Kyle has gone silent, he's been a little baby and gone to use the bathroom. What a very, very bad podcast host to go use the bathroom during the podcast.
Is this what was being said while I was going to the bathroom?
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what was being said.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I think...
Are you liking the podcast so far? You seem frustrated a lot.
You guys are having fun. That's good. I'm glad you guys are having fun.
Well, when I'm, half a 30 rack deep right now, so.
You're half a 30 rack deep?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. No, I think... Honestly, I think that stuff like this, kind of candid conversations like this, does give a little bit of credence to our character, and I think anyone that's actually listening to what anyone here is saying should see that, there's no ill will towards anybody in these conversations.
No,
there's
we
not.
love everybody around here.
Yeah, I mean,
I totally love everyone around here.
No. There's a difference.
Never mind.
Well, no. But there's a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between because the people that we're talking about are the ones that are trying to.
The people.
Black people?
No. It doesn't matter.
The people.
The people that we're talking about right now are the ones that we are trying to jam their ideals down our throats.
Yeah,
and
that's who we're talking about.
Those liberal,
doesn't matter.
Black supremacists, critical racists.
It doesn't matter. Black, gay,
LGBT, alphabet warriors.
Anybody
not
that
whites,
is
though,
trying. Yes.
Yeah, dude.
The whites that are trying to shoved up.
Cracker Jack motherfuckers up here.
Yeah, it's anybody. Honestly, because how many times have we said, and both of us agree, that you can do whatever you want to in the privacy of your own home or out in public if you want, but
not anything.
Well, right.
Let's pump the brakes on that.
But until it affects me,
hold up.
We're talking about most of the social issues.
But the best part of all this is look, both sides view Karen very differently, right? The left views Karens as like the Republican types. The right views Karens as like the manager types. I know what's best for everybody. A liberal. That's the Karen that everybody we view, me and you view, the manager grabbing Karen is a liberal person who thinks that life should just be grand the way they run it and they follow the rules, so everyone else should follow the rules the way they follow the rules. It's these people. The snowflake thing, same exact thing. They're like, oh, Republicans are trying to ban these gay books. And it's like, yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't show kids gay porn. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't do that, right? But the leftists view, the snowflake term differently than the right views the snowflake term, but we're using it all interchangeably versus the other side. It's kind of hilarious in a sense because we're so mixed up and divided that we're calling each other the same things, but they all have different meanings. And that's part of the critical racism's theory. They're just trying to divide and conquer, man. I mean, it's just a Marxist theory. They're, all the same things that they view, those same people, if you look at like their grocery list of ideals, it's dismantling the nuclear family. It's the communist things, man. It's, dismantling whiteness. Like, what the fuck is that, man? What is this like whiteness thing? Like, white people are thank you for giving us credit for all these great things. Like, we're the only ones that have built empires. We're the only ones that have oppressed people. We're the only ones that have been capable of enslaving others. I didn't realize we were so damn good at like life in general. I didn't realize we were number one. But like that's what they're saying.
I like how you half censored yourself on that one.
Did you? Yeah. I mean, we're up to like 5 or 6. I don't even care at this point. Fuck, fuck. But it's like, dude, like seriously, like fuck them. Because like they are trying to interfere with our lives so bad. These people, they go into these institutions and they're getting everybody all riled up on these things. And they're going, and it's not just like college kids. It's institution leaders of the churches too, man. And you know me, I'm not a big church person. I don't believe in the symbolism. So it's like if a church isn't getting a bunch of money from their patrons and all these other things, I don't really care.
Oh, hey.
I view the benefit that the church can bring from the community aspects and it all. But if they're not providing that, then yeah, I don't really know what the fuck they're doing. It's just someone getting a tax break and they're giving a service every day. But it's like, and maybe that's just me. Maybe that's coming from a lefty, in my youth, a lefty atheist persona of just being like, well, I just know. And maybe it's the whole, if you need God to not know that, know that it's wrong to murder someone, then maybe you're just a crazy person. And it's like, maybe it's coming from a little bit of that side of things of just viewing. It's like, well, but it's just, dude, it's just like religion is just a way to live, man. It's a way to be a good human being as a whole. Like, take out all the America, take out South America, take out all these places, take out everything, take out all the artificial bullshit, all the yellow, white, black perspective. Just take the story and the general purpose of the story. Take all the race out of it. Take all, all the possession shit out of it. And these morals can apply to every single person. Every single person. It doesn't matter who you are, black, white, female, male. It doesn't matter. Young, old, these stories apply to everyone. And these people are dismantling shit, dude, and they're just making up a bunch of fake bullshit. And yeah, I mean, it needs to be called out.
I'm glad you called it out.
Thanks.
Zach,
Yes.
do you want me to censor this? I don't want to.
No, dude, this one's going all in.
It's going all in, I guess.
Zach, you might as well.
Do it.
So where do we go from here, boys?
It's a weird curse word.
Where do we
I
go
don't-
from here?
Not sure I know that one.
Where do we go for here?
For here or from here?
From here.
So anyways, man, I can talk about some other stuff if you'd like. What were we going to segue into? Were we going to segue into anything? I mean, we're
Well, I
talking
was
about the
gonna-
critical racism stuff.
I was going to give you an easy dunk on the Catholics. The Pope just came out and was like, oh, yeah.
I hate that fucker guy. The Pope, the Catholic Pope right now is the most like anti-Catholic Pope.
Well, he just
ever.
gave the okay for like the gay marriage or like
Yeah.
the gay stuff and whatnot. Did you not hear about that, Zach?
I did not hear about it.
Yeah, he gave like
Well, there you go,
the
man.
full okay that in the eyes of God it is okay
What
to
are
be
your views of that, Joe?
gay, more or less. What's that?
Of like the gay marriage thing?
To me, I don't really care about gay marriage. In my opinion, I could care less because
Could
it's
care less.
for those of whom
Okay.
that want to do what they want. Go ahead, because I'm giving you in the very libertarian mindset. Then you talk about my Christian mindset. It's like, well, it's wrong, but I'm going to allow you to do what you want.
Sure. Joe, Zach,
So
what do you think about it?
this is going to be a more, well, no, I'll just come out. So the way
You're
I
gonna-
look
you're gonna
at it.
come out?
No.
Maybe you should be in the cup chair.
Good Lord. So
So brave. So powerful.
So I think the biggest problem I would have with somebody expecting a church to marry them as a gay couple
Yeah.
is that a marriage inside of a church, you also have to recognize that one, anyone can go get a marriage certificate and get married in a courthouse, right? But as soon as you bring it to a church's front door and say you must marry me because I'm gay, that's where I have a problem with it.
Wait, is that how it works?
What's that?
Like the whole gay marriage thing being legalized, is it like, can you just take your certificate to a church and like
No.
they have to?
No.
They don't, right?
No.
No.
So gay marriage is
Yeah.
only through the federal government.
Right.
Correct.
A church has the ability
Yeah.
to deny it. Not all
But
churches do.
they can if they want to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
so like
depends on the church.
the Methodist churches are pretty
Here's
much
the
the only
thing.
ones
Maybe.
doing it.
Well,
Maybe.
here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? When you go to a church, marriage is seen as something even outside of the law. They recognize that it's something for the law as well, but it also takes on another meaning, which is you are joined with God. You are joined before God.
And we're talking
And
about
you are-
most
and
most
you're-
Christian churches.
Right.
Right.
And you're taking a vow to each other.
Okay.
And there are churches out there that believe that homosexuality is a sin. And so when you purposely go to one of these churches and say, you must marry me, that's where it becomes a problem, because now you are just instigating. That's the problem. That's where it becomes a problem, is when you are forcing your ideals to become someone else's.
Okay.
So that's where I have a problem with it. If you want to get if you want to get married in the eyes of the law,
That's one thing.
whatever, go
That's different.
do your thing. Do
Yeah,
I
that's
agree
how-
with it? No.
Yep. Okay.
But
I
go-
want to say
go
that's
ahead and do it.
That's kind of how I view it too. If in the eyes of the government and the law, the civil union between the government, that fine.
Right.
Because that's not a benefit granted by God. The church meaning of marriage is something completely different.
Absolutely.
Something completely different.
And if you look, here's the other thing too, is if the government starts telling churches that they must, that's where you start having a
Well,
problem
apparently
too.
the Pope is now telling them that they must.
See, that's-
probably
and that's-
right with that. I'd imagine with that kind of
Well,
means
see,
like
and the Pope
my
is-
decree is law.
And see, the Pope is supposed to be the head of that church. So if the
Yeah.
Pope is allowing,
Stupid
if,
commie freaking Pope.
if the Pope is saying that the Catholic Church now marries homosexual couples, then I
Stupid
guess
gay
that's
Pope.
what the Catholic Church is going to start doing. Any Catholic
Gay
churches
commie
that fall under the Pope's jurisdiction or whatever, however they do that.
I really don't like this Pope.
But I mean, honestly, that's one of the things is.
Well, we like the
it's
German
as soon
racist
as-
one though.
No, it's as soon
He was cool.
Yeah,
it's as soon as you start pushing your ideals and forcing other people to accept your ideals, that's where the problem is.
yeah, he hated
for
the
me.
Jews
Yeah.
more than I do.
Well, that's all authoritarianism. I mean, all authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is. It's just you need to believe what I believe, and it's like. And I used to have this, conflict too. It's like, well, like common sense, and that's where you get, well, common sense isn't so common. It's like, well, I guess common sense is a little different to everybody in a sense.
Sure.
But man, dude, we have just dumbed ourselves down so much to the point that we're willing to believe, like we're willing to be taught instead of like what to think. That whole critical thinking has been just dissolved. And
People need to be taught how to think, not what to think.
exactly. And that's what I mean, man. It's just been so dissolved because like people aren't coming up with lucid thoughts. I thought, like, for instance, when the trans stuff came out and the biologists came out and agreed, I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think we were going to go as far as some of this stuff has gotten. Like this communist weird Pope that we have nowadays. This dude is the Antichrist, man. This guy is crazy. Like the stuff he's all okay with, man. He is not like. Look, man. I know I'm not a very good Christian person, and I'm stepping back from the backgrounds here. But just as an outside observer, that guy is horrible for for religion as a whole.
Who's that?
The Pope,
Oh,
the
yeah.
current Pope of the
Pope
Catholic.
Francis.
Yeah, the guy's a piece of shit.
Well,
You're at an
here's-
hour 20.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here's the thing. every church needs some sort of leadership that can kind of handle the affairs of the church, right? We're talking someone that takes care of when the services are going to be held, what the services are going to entail, someone to help with the services to make sure that they're conducted well, someone to help make sure that there's fellowship among members, whether that's donuts and coffee afterwards, whatever. So there are
like my donuts and coffee.
But I don't think
big fan.
There's one part of the Catholic Church that I really couldn't wrap my head around.
They don't have donuts and coffee?
Yeah,
I don't think they do.
I'm sure they do. Catholic churches? No, I'll bet they do. I'll bet there's a lot out there. No,
none that I've ever been to.
Well, either way,
It's probably because you've been to those Mexicans where they have tamales instead.
Dude, there's no tamales either, man. I don't know. Tell me which ones to go to, please. Because that sounds awesome.
Well, that's one thing that I've always had a problem with is that the Catholic Church just kind of looks up to this one guy, and this one guy gets to be the end all be all. And it's like whoa, who are we actually worshiping then when we go to worship? Are we worshiping
realistically,
the Pope,
man?
Or are we worshiping
true.
God?
But the Catholic faith too, dude, there's a whole bunch of stuff when you get in there that you need to just know that I don't know. That I'm sure other people kind of observe my family and they're probably just like, oh, these guys don't know anything. And there's probably those that have their judgmental skills and abilities, but it's like I said, this is the only time I go. My wife practices the Catholic faith and this is where she wants to go, and we go to that same church for Lent. That's basically it. Yeah, that's basically it. That's the only time we go. And it's just it is what it is, man. I don't mind the kneeling and everything else, and it's and I can barely hear the guys, and it's crazy how packed it was. Normally we go to the morning services. Here we ended up going to the afternoon service. It was packed, and it wasn't just packed with white people. It was packed with every race, everybody you could imagine. And the best part is, while we were leaving, it was so busy to leave. The other service was already approaching. It was a Hispanic service that was coming, and my wife said that one is the most packed that it will ever be. And most of the people from this area go there, and that's great to see. You know how awesome it is to see that in today's day and age, where there's literal Satan freaking churches coming up and there's Satanist statues going up. Let me ask
you, if it's so nice to see, why don't you go more often?
Because
it slows down, and I don't like to see it.
It makes me all depressed. I don't like it. No, dude, I am not just personally a churchy person, dude. Like I said, we go there and we don't see the same people when we go on these Ash Wednesday events. I feel like this is one of those services that most people that call themselves faithful probably go to. There's probably a couple that some people hold dear in their hearts that they go to. This is the one I do. This is the one that makes the most sense to me. And I don't view the whole paying my money to a church. I get the whole aspect of it, right? You're helping support the mission by helping support these walls so that other people can find God. Mm-hmm. I understand the concept, right? But I haven't found that community, and it's just it was never something I was born to be in, and it's something that I don't take as seriously because for me, and this is hard, man, because it probably comes off as stupid and ignorant, but it's I just feel that people should just fucking live that way. You shouldn't need someone else to tell you the good book. You shouldn't need someone else to tell you every week to fucking be a good fucking person and not steal from one another and not go F your person's wife and not go fuck over your neighbors and all these other things. It should just be common sense to be a good fucking person in this country. This is how good societies stay. This is how polite societies stay too. Well-armed polite societies, because if everyone's armed, then there's double the reason not to commit these crimes. You shouldn't just not do it just because it's the wrong thing to do, which the only aspect of the wrong thing to do is to view it through the lens of God being there and judging you all the time. You shouldn't have to have that lens. You should just be.
Yeah, not this country, but the world.
The world. Exactly. Not just exactly, man. And that conflicts with other you start spewing stuff like this, and now all of a sudden the Jews hate you. And now all of a sudden the Muslims hate you because you're speaking, anti-Allah shit. And it's how? All I want is everyone else to just be good people and live live amongst each other without killing each other, and stealing from each other and wronging each other, and being able to live and be neighbors, and not murdering each other. Basically, it just comes down to just nodding your hat and saying hello and just being good people to one another and not wanting to murder your neighbors and stealing their treasure.
So I think one of the things that you're talking about is because you talk about these are morals that you're saying we should all have, and I think they're morals that are actually taught in our society. I mean, not all the time, but for a majority, I think these are basic morals that people learn, right? Mm-hmm. But the morals that we learn here in America versus other parts of the world are different. I mean, we can acknowledge that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think one of the reasons that America has the morals it does is because we're a country founded on Christian values, right?
I don't mean to interject here, but and Kyle can tell me if I'm wrong, but what I think Kyle is trying to say is that we should not need religion to have good morals.
And I kind of mean that, but like the atheists do use that argument a lot, saying like we shouldn't need religion, we shouldn't need God to have these good morals. And like, I don't necessarily, because everybody's different on the mind scale, right? There's some that are more feeble-minded than others, and some that definitely need that, like, there's a man in the sky that's judging me, down to like the philosophical sense of like, yes, I need to do what's better, as if I'm outside looking in. So yeah, like essentially, but I think religion definitely has a place. My whole point is when man gets its tendrils into religion, uses it to a point to enrich themselves. Not saying that every church does that. Obviously, I don't think they do. I think a lot of churches do good for their communities and their local communities. And I think a lot more do good than do bad. Televangelists, obviously, I think that they're
the best
priorities
they're the best.
Well, obviously they're the most guys. They're obviously
any
going
church,
to heaven.
I will say this:
all of them.
any church that says they are immune to what you're talking about is in denial.
Yeah,
because there is always the possibility of a church becoming that way, and it's always a possibility. But
if there were more churches that like, and this was probably something back in the day that was more profound, right? That there's probably more churches that did more stuff in their communities, and I feel like in today's day and age, with the anti-religion approach probably being the majority than the minority, makes it a little harder for them. But it's like if there were more churches just full, and for instance, there's some local churches that I know that do like the food pantries and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's amazing stuff, and no harping on them, and any financial support to help those things. Yes, I believe in that. Mm-hmm. But it's like just to keep your doors open and keep your pastor paid type thing. It's like you should be doing more than that, because the whole purpose of all of this is to be selfless service. And it's like it gets to a point where some of these places, and I feel like for far too long, especially the televangelist point of view, it's just been to enrich themselves through a different means of taking advantage of people. Like that money's not going to anywhere good except for to their pockets and their enrichment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. For our church, there was a long time where our church, we do have a food pantry now. We've had a food pantry for about a year, just over a year.
Congratulations to NASA.
But before the food pantry, mm-hmm. One of our mission statements was that we wanted to be a neighborhood church. Okay, we wanted to be able to assist those in the neighborhood who needed help with anything, who needed, whatever it was. And that also included a place for their kids to attend Sunday school, to learn things. I don't necessarily think that, put it this way, the church believes that the church wants more people mm-hmm. to understand what they believe and why they believe it. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Your offerings and your tithes and all of that, most of the time isn't just going to the pastor's salary or to, to keeping the lights on, because a lot of churches will have missions that they send money to, things like missionaries in these other countries who are actually helping, not necessarily just spread the word, but
I've
also
personally seen some of the pastors get involved in certain local community programs too, like helping like drug addiction
and those things,
addiction and stuff like that.
But those things should be the product of a strong faith and a strong congregation. It's not necessarily that you have to do these things to be forgiven, for your sins. It's that those things should happen because of the faith you have, that you are forgiven. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? In other words, the good works, you can do nothing for your forgiveness in the Christian mindset. You can do nothing for your own forgiveness. Okay, you've already been forgiven because Christ died for you on the cross.
I don't buy that.
So when are you going to have Pastor on then, Zach?
We could have Pastor on at some point.
I think you should.
What
It just makes sense to have him on because
what do you not hold on? What do you not buy? I agree with you, but
So I don't buy that your sins are dissolved because someone a long time ago died for them. I think that your sins are dissolved if you come to terms. Basically, you realize what you did was wrong, and you make significant change in the fact.
So repentance.
Can you define why do you think that, or like can you divulge more into like why do you think that it's just you needing to understand what you've done that?
So I think, I think it's all free will, right? Like you had the free will to do what you did. God gave you that. Yeah. I don't deny that at all. God gave you the free will. That essentially it's the same thing of like, why do horrible things happen to some people where it doesn't seem deserved? And it's like, well, free will is a son of a bitch sometimes. Like horrible things do happen to good people sometimes. And it's just maybe it was the guy that murdered them's free will to do what he had to do. That person was caught in the crossfires. It doesn't mean that they were any less a good person, for what happened to them. They were just they were caught up in another person's struggle.
Okay.
So, when I view the way the sin, the way you commit a sin and just to think like, oh, well, God, Jesus died for me and my sins are forgiven. It's like, no, man, you have to really repentance on these things. And, I'm going to just use that term from you just now giving it to me. And so, I mean, it just comes to, oh God. So
really,
I didn't park in your grass though.
So,
yeah, man, I'm sorry. Maybe I've gone off topic, but it just comes to the time of like, I think you need to take responsibility for those actions. And I think it all comes down to you. And
so you absolutely do.
You took advantage of your free will to do a bad thing, and Jesus might have whatever and all these things and all that was written in the books, but it's like, man, if it doesn't mean if you just take it that, well, he did that, so I'm okay, versus I acknowledge what I did was wrong and like I need to fix myself in order, to whatever I need to fix to make sure that doesn't happen again, taking that personal responsibility, that accountability for yourself and holding yourself ultimately responsible. And I feel like that has nothing to do with Jesus.
So yes, you do need to be repentant. That is a prerequisite. You do need to be repentant.
Well, cheers to that then.
but I think here's the thing. So, and I think I've said it on one of our former podcasts. But you think about the God's grace, which is Him sending His Son to die for your sins. Okay, when you think about God's grace, you have to look at it. You have to look at it as. So I said you can't do anything to earn your forgiveness, right?
Okay.
Okay. It's already been given to you. So what I equate it to is you get a gift. You've been given a gift, right? You haven't opened it. It's still got the wrapper on it. Okay.
Okay.
Has your name on it. It says Kyle.
Hey.
Okay. It's yours.
Nice.
Right? There's nothing you can change about that. It's yours now. It's got your name on it. Okay.
Okay.
So whether you unwrap it or not, it's yours. It's yours. Okay. If you do unwrap it, you'll get to see exactly what it is, and you'll be able to partake in whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay. But you haven't done anything to deserve that.
Right.
It's yours.
It's just mine.
Yeah. That's the kind of point that I'm trying to make.
So like his
Is that-
selfless service was to just unconditionally forgive everyone for what they may do.
If you come to Christ and you say, I am a poor, miserable sinner, please forgive me, he promises that it will be forgiven.
Okay. So you
That's
do
what-
believe then like a
that's
death row
what the-
inmate at the end of his line who maybe like at his whole service in jail like devotes, changes and converts and does all the things, and he still ends up dead, right? For his crimes, but do you believe that guy goes to heaven?
Well, it's the same think of like we know that killing someone is bad, right?
Yeah.
And suicide is bad.
Right.
But how can I say whether or not this individual goes to heaven
That's
when he
absolutely
commits suicide?
correct.
I can't say. I don't know. I can't say
Right.
that this just because he commits suicide and I know that's a sin.
Right.
I
I'll do you one better too.
Right. I would agree with
You
you.
should
though.
yes. And you if you believe in God the way most Christians do, there's no reason that you should pass any sort of judgment on that person after they die, because it's not up to you. It doesn't matter what you think.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what it doesn't matter. All it is between that person and God. If he's in heaven, if he's in hell, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's
We
like I
can-
could have a 2-hour rant about some horrible person that died, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day,
it's
if
felt-
at the end
yeah.
if at the end of his life he is truly repentant and he believes that Christ died for his sins and he's truly repentant of his sins and asks for that forgiveness and truly means it and feels it in his heart.
Right, and we wouldn't know that. He would know that.
Correct.
That's
Exactly. He can say it all day.
Mm-hmm.
He can say that he found Christ and he's all of this, but do we actually know? No, there's no way for us to know.
Yeah.
There are churchgoers out there right now who claim to confess the very in every church service that whatever they're saying is true, whatever, but do we know what's truly in their heart? Absolutely not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, the whole judgment thing, whether someone's going to go to heaven or hell, we have no clue. We have no idea. At the end of the day, we don't know who's going to be in heaven or in hell when we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, man, but that's all right. Yeah, but like that's a hard one to explain too, because like I don't believe in necessarily what do you think heaven and hell is?
all I can tell you what heaven and hell is. Heaven, the way I will explain it is you are in the true presence of God.
Okay.
Whatever that means, I have no idea.
Hell
Hell, you
The
are devoid.
opposite.
You are devoid
of God.
of God's presence.
Interesting. Joey, what do you think? Anytime.
Unsure. That's all. I'll put it there.
Fair enough.
Okay. So like this is my view of it, is that heaven is based on, it's all based on the life you live. Essentially, and now I kind of believe in two different things, but when it comes to the heaven and hell dynamic, this is my heaven and hell dynamic. It's heaven is you lived a good life. You repented. Maybe you didn't necessarily have the best life, but you repent at the last minute. You had a good moment, whatever. Mostly though, it's people that had a good life, right? They tried to live the values and keep to the morals, just live by the stories and everything else and the positivity. And then you kind of have this almost like a dream that recurs, and it's an infinite dream, but it's positive. It's basically the positive life you've lived. Now, my hell scenario, you're not a good person. You lived a shitty life. You pissed on everyone every chance you got. You treated everyone like crap. You took advantage of everyone you could. Whatever the case may be, you live hell over and over again for the rest of your life. You relive these horrible moments, and you feel the pain, and you may not have felt it at the time, but you do now, and you live this horrible kind of instance forever. You know, it's like a loop, right?
Okay.
Kind of like a Hellraiser movie.
Yeah,
Like
we've
Pinhead's got you.
yeah
You know?
we've talked about this. Yeah,
Yeah. That's kind of one of the views. One of the views I have it is that. The other view is everybody that has inner monologue, and this is kind of a fun one. Everybody that has inner monologue has a soul. All these people are souls reincarnated throughout time, and it's kind of like a refresh of like, oh, they keep getting refreshed of trying to, you know, get to heaven, basically, live that good life. So you keep getting pushed back to the masses, and you have to live amongst the sheep, the demonic, the people that have no inner monologue, the people that have no soul, and they're the ones that kind of keep the peer pressure. They're the ones that'll, you know, push you on the dark side. The ones that kind of like, oh man, that's cool, that's whack. What you doing over there doing that? You know, good thing. You know, try these drugs or whatever else. That's one way I like to look at it. And I like to have these multi-pronged approaches. And maybe I only have these multi-pronged approaches because I mostly brought up not in the church.
sure.
You know, not through a religious lens.
You know, I think there's a lot of people out there that would explain what heaven is. Okay, it's going to be golden streets and mansions and all of this and all of that.
Yeah.
These are
Gated
ways.
community
These are
with an HOA.
these ways that have been explained, like in the Bible and things like that. These are just ways for people to explain a paradise, right? But
Sure.
it never
Through their eyes, right?
right.
Like that's their.
But it's never plainly said God will guarantee you golden streets, a mansion. You know, these are things that have been used as metaphors and things like that. And I think the best way to explain heaven is in the true direct presence of God. Do we know what that's going to be like? No, I don't, because I don't think I've ever been in the true presence of God.
No.
I take that back. I do believe. Well, I don't want to go down
Spill it,
the
dude.
theological.
Spill it.
Well, I don't want to go down the theological rabbit hole because then it gets a lot more involved, and I don't want to be here for another 2 hours. But
Why not? What do you have against Joe?
I got stuff to do.
Oh, stuff
But-
better than the podcast. I see how it is.
No, something better than God? Really?
Something better
Anyway.
than God and the
No,
podcast.
exactly. Wow.
So-
we say what your priorities are.
Way to offend two people at once. Three
Well,
people at once.
Not only that, to be perfectly honest with you, too, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole to where I can't get myself out of. In other words,
Okay.
I don't claim to be.
Fair enough.
I
man,
don't.
guess.
I don't claim to understand every single
Yeah,
detail
no,
about the Bible.
No,
And
absolutely.
Nor do I want to just kind of bring stuff out of my butt, and you know, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, we don't want you to do that either.
The best thing some pastors or religious people can say as an answer to a question is I don't know, because most of the time people just try to come up with stuff, and it's something so way off base that they really haven't even taken the time to think about.
Yeah.
So the worst thing I could do right now is just go down a rabbit hole that I cannot get myself out of, and anyone could pick apart logically and say, "Oh, this is why Christians are so messed up, because they believe this and this and this. Listen to them talk about it."
Yeah, and I don't buy that at all, man. Because like even if you did that, you're still at a better mindset than a lot of like atheists or agnostic people. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
I
like some
think-
of these people have the greater goal of religion, I think, is, and I feel like it stems down to like as simply put as the belief in something bigger than yourself. And I feel like once someone understands that and someone lives by those values, of the values that takes, you know, that into perspective, it's like it doesn't even matter if they believe in God or not. They're still going to be a good person, and they're going to treat others right.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point, it doesn't matter anymore. And it's like you would hope that they believe in the more moral sense of everything else. But it's like, as long as the basic foundation's set, and I feel like that's the whole point of calling American a basic Christian foundation country, is that's what it used to be. Everybody had that foundation of knowing that there's something for the greater good. The way the communists say, but you know, the communists say it with a gun to your head, whereas the capitalists and Americans just say it, you know, waving a flag and seeing the sunshine before them, and just like, you know, knowing life is good, and just being able to treat others good. And man, it's just like all that's lost on us, man.
Yeah.
And the people that call themselves actively anti-Christians need to really look at that, because it's like, dude, just these ways of being are just better for all society. And you want to talk about the woke traits that they're looking for. These things are generally organic through things like Christianity. They actually happen this way. And the same thing with like the communists talking about the workplace and stuff. Well, the 4-day and 3-day work weeks and stuff potentially could happen through capitalism.
Yeah.
You know, like these things don't happen through the force. Like they happen through good economic systems where it's like now we can pay our employees more to do less work because that's how just good everything is for everybody right now.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, if everyone treated you're talking about here's one thing. Here's kind of one little paradox, if you want to call it that, is that any economic system that could ever be even thought up, or any social way of living that could be brought up, would be extremely easy to do if everyone just did the right thing all the time.
Well, yeah.
Does that make sense? And so there's a little bit of a paradox there, because you think, okay, well, I believe that capitalism is right. Okay.
Yeah, but
capitalism
go
works. Ahead. Capitalism works if everyone does the right thing.
So does communism.
Right. That's the paradox that I kind of have.
Yeah.
That I kind of think of sometimes as, well, if everyone did the right thing, any one of these economic systems would work.
The thing is, you got to look at it through that lens of not everybody can do the same thing through communism. They can do the same thing when given a God and given something to believe in a greater good than themselves. You know,
I guess what brings that paradox, I guess, full circle for me would be that there would be no reason for any sort of specific economic system if the world was perfect. There would be no reason to label capitalism versus Marxism versus communism versus, all that. There'd be no reason to put a label on it, because at the end of the day, everyone would be sufficiently,
fed.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, essentially, man, but like, look, capitalism is the reason why things can exist good, but like crony capitalism, which leads to things like fascism, are the reasons why we can't have good things. And the whole, well, communism has never been tried properly type. It's like, look, no, communism could work. If everybody agrees with the same line of thinking and is a robot, it can absolutely work. It just, in realistic terms, it will never work until you get to a point. The only time communism will work is if you had zero religion. You would have to have zero religion where people think for themselves. People have zero critical thinking anymore. They think man gives them their rights. They're back to the Egyptian pharaoh type thing where that guy, Xi Jinping, is king. He is the leader of all people. He is what's most important. It's all transhumanism. It's all, it's taking God out of it. And when you have to take God out of it, you have to have a greater being than yourselves, because if anyone could just be man, then it's like, well, then that's just like Hitler or any of these other crazy dictators. They're just gonna be that. They're gonna fill those shoes, Yeah. Man, it's all convoluted and all these things, but it's like these people don't realize it's like, man, anybody could just work hard, and through capitalism, you can bring yourself out of one economic status and put yourself in another economic status, like through work. You don't need any other you can just do it yourself. Now, I understand that this country, like I just mentioned, the crony capitalists have taken over for so long that they have made it extra hard. Well, in terms, they've made it extra easy to be on the welfare state, and be on the food stamps. It's so much easier to be on that than to work out of those systems, because they actually probably about 2 or 3 pay scales above being eligible for government benefits. They make it excruciatingly hard for those pay scale, where you're just above making government benefits, but you're like, you're at a weird tax line. You're still getting a decent tax refund at this point, but you're not eligible for stuff, so your life's hard. You're not getting that money that the government was giving you for groceries. You're expected to just buy them for yourself now because you're making too much money, even though you're only making maybe $100 more than what you were making, previously, in order to get the benefits.
Yeah.
And these aren't just food benefits. These are also
Any
these can be cash benefits
Right.
and medical benefits
Yeah.
too, that you're qualified for and then disqualified for.
Yep.
You know, based on making a $10 raise or a 5% raise, which does never account for $10. I mean, I don't know who it does.
Yeah.
You're making some serious change if it does.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you're serious, like, oh man, that extra $1.50 an hour, now I'm gonna be cut off from all my food stamps, you know?
Yep.
That type of system is the crony capitalist way of keeping certain people oppressed and down,
Yeah.
and keeping them on their pay scale and what they want them to do and vote for what they want them to vote for. And that's basically, I mean, your critical Marxist theorists are taking advantage of all these things, and they're making the system into a thing that it's not supposed to be. I mean, people of the world unite. I agree with. The workers of the world unite. Yes, I agree with. But all these other aspects of them, look, man, when the Soviet Union, the Bolsheviks took over, and you know, they massacred all the farmers and said the workers get to take over the farms. Well, they all starved because all the factory workers had no freaking clue how to
Yeah.
run a farm.
Yeah.
They freaking starved, man. A ton of people starved. And every time a communist thing happens, people starve and die. And it's just horrible and authoritarianism. And that's all this is. These critical races are just another form of Marxism, communism trying to take hold. So you just got to fight it every chance you get. And every time you see DEI being spouted at any sort of corporate thing, you just know that's the enemy. That's communism taking over. And they're getting money and funds based on being communist and racist and anti-civil rights, anti-American.
Yeah, I think a lot more people need to put more effort into realizing, what am I trying to I'm trying to
Spit it out, Zach.
people need to stop putting so much effort and energy into making sure that they're doing the right thing and saying the right thing. And they need to put a whole lot more energy into just doing what they think is the next right thing. And sure, that's going to be different for some people, but for the most part, just do the right thing.
Just do, man.
Just do the right thing. And
Just
it doesn't
do.
and the right thing shouldn't come as something that's pressured upon you. You know what I mean? In other words, you know, you could have somebody tell you that the right thing to do would be to do X, Y, or Z action for this people because you know, so long ago they were afflicted with something. You know what I mean? And it's like, look, just do the right thing. The right thing doesn't have to be this big, huge gesture. It could just be saying, "Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?"
Dude, I really enjoy your algebraic racism there. That was great.
No,
So-
I don't think that's racism at all. I think treating
your equation was.
my equation. Oh, X, Y, Z.
Yeah,
Good
that's all I
grief.
mean. No.
No,
I get
think-
what you're saying.
yeah,
No,
just
dude,
treat-
it's 100%.
Treat anybody,
Yeah.
regardless of where they come from or what they do. Just treat people like they're people.
Right.
Treat humans like they're human beings. You know,
Yeah,
this
man.
person has a mother and a father. This person has, you know, a son, a child, whatever.
Whatever, man. They have thoughts. They have dreams.
Yes,
Just like you, man.
yes.
They brush their teeth.
Yes.
Maybe they don't.
They put
Who knows?
their pants on one
Wipe
leg
your
at a
other
time.
ass, just one
Dude,
cheek at a time.
it's simple. We're all
It's very simple. We're all just little stupid animals running around trying to figure this shit out, man. But you know,
that's exactly it.
trying to pose your will over others is not the way.
Exactly.
That's
Everyone's
not the
trying.
way.
Everyone's trying to figure it out. We're all trying to figure it out.
Absolutely.
This whole thing in life.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what you're drinking on tonight because I'm drinking on a delicious 312 wheat ale from the good old Goose Island of Chicago, Illinois. 4.2% alcohol. This beer reminds me of Leinenkugel Summer Shandy.
Yeah,
but
it is reminiscent.
it's I feel like it's always in season, whereas Summer Shandy, it's sometimes you get it off season and it tastes kind of like ass.
Yeah,
This-
summer shandy is much more lemony citrus.
Yeah.
than
This is a little bit lighter, but
Yeah.
it's delicious.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
is good.
always it's always that delicious.
Yep.
So I mean that's what I'm drinking on, but what the hell do you got there, bud?
So I started off on the 312. 312, whatever you call it.
Yeah. Goose Island.
Yeah. I started off on that, but the other day I was in the liquor store and I saw this. I was interested in it. It's a peanut butter milk stout. And so, it's definitely
Nitro.
it's definitely
How
a
is
beer
that?
that you don't drink 6 of in one sitting. It is very heavy, but from Joey's reaction over there when he tried it, he didn't really like it. I don't mind it. Is it the best stout I've had? No.
Not a big fan of stouts myself.
Yeah, this is from Left Hand Brewing Company, and it's okay. I think the peanut butter aspect of it is kind of what throws it off for me, because I've had milk stouts before and I love them.
Okay.
But the peanut butter, I don't know. It gives it, weirdly enough, it gives it a little bit of a bitterness that I'm not really liking at all.
Interesting. What do you think, Joe?
It mostly could just because I've been drinking different beers all night, and then I switched to that one. I was like, no, I ain't about it. Maybe if I was just I just had that for a night, maybe it'd be alright. But
Okay. But it did not
me-
mix well with anything else you had.
no, not swapping beers like that. I
Okay.
would not recommend ending the night with that. If anything, you would start the night with that. And I don't even think you would do that. Like if you're gonna go out on a trip to drink a bunch of beers, don't touch that at all. If
Well,
you're going there for hey, I just had this ribeye steak and maybe I want a little dessert. Don't drink it with your steak. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't.
I will say though that a stout usually is meant to be poured into a glass, not drink directly out of the bottle.
I don't know if that
What's a
really
bottle?
matters, though.
What?
What's a bottle, Zach?
Because of its packaging, and the way it's packaged, it should be poured out in
In the
order to
bottle?
get the best. What's that? No, because it's sealed.
What's coming out of it in the glass? It's not coming out of it in the bottle.
Well, when you pour it,
Oh, so when you pour it, something happens.
yes, so pour hard to release the nitro magic. It says.
Pour hard. What am I gonna pour it soft?
No, you don't know the difference between pouring hard or pouring soft into a
I
glass?
know about yanking it hard and yanking it soft.
Okay.
Into a glass.
But
Petri dish.
no, I think it might. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it and maybe I'll give it a
About
different
$3.50
review.
for that cup.
But maybe I will try. Maybe I'll try pouring it into a glass instead next time. The way it says that it's
We'll see,
intended
man.
to be drank.
I tell you
but-
what, dude. I picked up a pack of Miller Lights, man. And I was pouring them into a glass.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Didn't matter. It was still shit.
Well, I think the stouts. You pooping on Miller Lite?
Yeah.
It's probably it's my top 3 light beers.
They all suck. Coors
Yeah, they
Light's
do.
the best light
They
beer.
do.
But it's also owned by the same brewing company. And I
Yeah.
don't give a shit about either one of them. It's like saying Bud Light's the greatest. Who cares?
Yeah, they're all made the same place.
Bunch of
yeah.
gays.
Anyway, so yeah, the peanut butter milk stout. I don't know, not the biggest fan of it. I'll try it again. I'll have it again, but I definitely enjoyed the 312.
Yeah, I'm overhearing this stupid beer. Kyle, what are you drinking?
He already said what he was drinking.
I said what I'm drinking, but
I
I'll say
want
it
to
again.
hear it again.
So, you know what? Thank you for throwing it back, Joe, because you know what? Besides the 312 wheat ale from Goose Island, I'm also drinking a nice, delicious glass of Buffalo Trace whiskey. No rocks
Bourbon?
here, baby. This is just pure, and I've been sipping on that, and that is my favorite whiskey. It is kind of sweet, little bit of a sweet note, delicious on its own, has none of that bitter, crappy aftertaste. There's nothing horrible of it that's gonna make you like gag or cough or nothing, man. This is like the smoothest whiskey I think money can buy.
That is a good
And
one.
when you can find it, I feel like you need to pay for it and get it.
Yeah.
Buffalo Trace. Not a sponsor, but
Yeah.
one of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite whiskeys.
Yep. So, all right. Well, with that, you wanna take us out, Kyle?
Yeah, man. Well, absolutely. Once again, thank you everyone for listening to Common Sense and Beer, a podcast where we hit the hard hitting topics with a beer in hand, with some common sense and logic. Hopefully, I'm Kyle,
I'm Zach.
and don't forget Joey over there. You guys have a great night.